This whole thing has been such a negative and toxic situation and talking only, oh, this guy's going to get released. This guy's going to get suspended. They're stripping titles, whatever. It's hard to look at the positives of this situation. However, Tony Khan seems to have done that. And in a recent interview with Bustin' Open Radio, he talked about the fallout of Punk's media scrum comments and the altercation that happened afterwards. Here's what Tony Khan had to say about this. Don't forget that you have great people around you. No matter who you are, there are people around you. Everyone has different situations, family, friends, people at work, people at school. But don't forget there are people who care about you and want to see you succeed. We had a lot of stuff happening, but there are a lot of great people at AEW that want to make the company go. And no matter what the problem is, those people who want to be there and make the company work. Before the Tournament of Champions, a lot of people in the tournament stepped up and said, I don't care what's happening. I love this place. I love you. I want to make it great. I'm here for whatever you need. To hear those words of reassurance from people like Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, and Bryan Danielson means a lot. Having a lot of people return, no matter what you think of them, having people who were away, their returns mean a lot. Samoa Joe, who's one of the biggest stars of all time, and his great presence in the locker room. It's great to have him back. Even MJF, who has made a big difference on TV. I don't agree with everything he says, but I do think wrestling fans love to see MJF on shows, and it makes a big difference on AEW and Dynamite when he's there. It's really about the fans rallying around AEW and the wrestlers and staff rallying. We've seen some people do it from time to time, whether it is from the pandemic lockdown, some of the challenges we face, the absolute low point of the company when Mr. Brody Lee was sick, on the verge of passing, and when he passed, rallying around him and his family. That is the most serious example we've ever faced, and really, compared to that, it's all kind of, I don't know what to compare being as serious as that. That's as big as it gets and puts in perspective everything else that we do. If we all come together and we're all family, then we could get through just about anything. For me, I've learned a lot, but the most important thing, whatever position you're in, if your back is against the wall, just remember there are people that you could always turn to. Very positive from Tony Khan. I think that is a great approach. Forget the negativity. You have guys like Jericho, Moxley, Danielson, and many others that are willing to step up when people want to be childish and air dirty laundry and be negative and bring people down and have altercations or whatever.
And it's funny because it's not funny, but it's funny to a certain extent because it involves some of the EVPs of the company who are the ones who wanted to create this change. And it's like, the egos and the people who would get upset about creative differences and money and things like that. That's the stuff that I feel like people wanted to leave behind. And that's kind of like why AEW came to become what it is today, because it was like more or less like a safe haven where those things hopefully weren't going to occur. I think they're bound to happen in any major promotion, whether it's wrestling, UFC, MMA, baseball, basketball. Guys want to get paid. Guys want certain freedoms. And, when that doesn't align with what management wants, things go sideways, So I think that's unfortunately what happened here with MJF and the Elite and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, it's good to see, one, as bad as this whole situation was, and it felt like it was going to be really bad, a guy like Jon Moxley to step up and drag them back out of the mud, so to speak, because, seems like forever ago. You asked me the day after All Out, I'm like, damn, I don't see how they can recover from this. Look where we are today. Saraya debuts. Jon Moxley's champion again. It seems like they're heading in the right direction. Mm-hmm. They're going to get somebody like Adam Cole back, I would imagine, relatively soon.
Yep.
So even
and the ratings have been good
exactly.
without the Elite and without CM Punk.
Exactly.
In another week, they're number one in the ratings, number one in almost every key demographic, and post another 1 million viewership. I know some people are like, well, it was a disappointment, but take it into context, folks. It was premiere night for a lot of the fall season shows, and this is the most competitive time in television. The fall season is the most competitive. If AEW could stick to the number one rated show on cable and all the key demographics, continue their 1 million viewership, this is huge negotiation chips to have heading into those talks at the end of this year, early next year with WB Discovery. They're heading in the right direction. without the guy that many people thought was the guy in CM Punk that was going to bring it all full circle, or the guys in the Elite that were going to change the world. Those four are gone, and yet they've improved on air, business-wise, morale. It's like Tony Khan has a decision to make. And it seems like if you believe the Wade Keller speculation, Punk's gone. Are the Elite gone with him? And people have actually, one of our last episodes asked if the Elite leave AEW, do they go to WWE? Those conversations are happening now, where you might have thought 6 months ago, Punk's not leaving AEW.
Here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. The Elite, they were the nucleus, the core of what AEW was.
I mean, the E stands for Elite.
If they leave, do people care? Like, does anybody care? I mean, we kind of got conditioned to not seeing Kenny Omega on AEW because he was hurt. I can't look at the show and be like, wow, things are really bad without the Kenny Omega there. They're really bad. It's not as entertaining without the Young Bucks there. I noticed when MJF wasn't there that it wasn't as good, and I noticed that it's a lot better with him there.
Yeah. I think there are those people. I think out of the four in discussion, the one that most people are upset is not involved right now is Kenny Omega. I feel like, especially because from what you hear about what happened, it seems like he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time situation where all he was trying to do was save Larry the dog. He ends up getting bitten in wherever by Ace Steel, and he was just trying to be a good Samaritan, and now he's suspended and gets stripped of his trios title, and he's not able to perform. And, a lot of people want to see him wrestle, especially that he just came back from this injury. The Bucks, I've seen a lot of people say, you know what, good riddance on the Bucks. They're not good wrestlers anyway. And CM Punk, whether it's his attitude, whether it's the fact that he can't stay healthy every time he gets the title, he's already hurt. Kenny Omega, people want to see him.
Any validity to what Eric Bischoff said about CM Punk?
About being the biggest financial flop? I still don't think that's true, because even the time that Punk was there, he drew the highest ratings quarter hours that he was on. When he was there, he sold out a freaking Rampage on the rumor that he was coming back. The first $1 Million Gate he was in the main event for. Forbidden Door sold out on the speculation or assumption he was going to face Tanahashi. So I don't think he was a financial flop. I think it's more of this could be the biggest, I don't know the exact wording that I want to use here, but
the expectation was he was going to bring them to the level to compete with WWE. And he's certainly, I don't think honest to God right now in pro wrestling, I don't know if anybody can do that. To just walk it, unless you're Roman, Brock, Cena, nobody's walking through the door in AEW and automatically, boom, you're competing. And even them, it might be difficult. It took WCW, literally the nucleus of all the right things coming together at the right time in a really risky heel turn for them to compete.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think what the word I'm looking for is disappointing, because you wait 7 years, and every time you watch WWE and you hated something that they did, you're not booing. You're not, saying this guy sucks or that guy sucks or not watching. No, what you're doing instead is hijacking the show and chanting CM Punk's name. He comes back and you see people literally crying in the stands when he shows up on that episode of Rampage, only for this to happen a year later.
Yeah.
This screams an episode of Dark Side of the Ring. It's so sad, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But Tony Khan, when it comes to this whole CM Punk thing, he's on a lot of interviews promoting Grand Slam this past week. And of course, people are going to ask him about that altercation, but Tony Khan refuses to comment on it. And I think that's props to him. Granted, I'm sure legally he can't, but the fact that he's not even trying, and considering that Tony Khan, we've seen him in the past get defensive at times on certain things, he has kept it very, very well mannered in this whole situation. He's kept his own. I praise him for that.
So the first time when Punk kind of did that whole thing where he kind of shit on the EVPs, the company, all that type of stuff, Tony was put in a position that I don't think he's ever been put in as the owner. He kind of got lost in the fact that he's a fan and just kind of let Punk do his own thing. The fact that he's not willing to share certain things, I think to me, this is kind of like you're not getting this out of me. Like, this is me being a boss. Like, that's private stuff. Next question. I'm not doing it.
Right.
So I think that's actually a smart move by him.
Absolutely.
Don't entertain it. Let it go. Don't let that be the thing that people continue to ask you. If they know you're not going to comment on it, then they'll probably stop asking. Let the good stuff that's going on be at the focal point.
Absolutely. And it just goes full circle to what we've been saying. Positivity stays in, negativity goes out. And I'm glad Tony Khan, I think this was a learning experience for him to be a boss first and a fan second. Because I think the last few months, he was being a fan first and a boss second. And the on-screen product suffered. You started hearing more stuff backstage coming out into the news with AEW, where, for a while, you weren't hearing that stuff.